Hello, hello.
Hello?
Yo, I can hear you right now.
Oh, there we go.
Yo, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Vibe?
I'm doing pretty good. Um,
Excellent.
yeah. I'm just ready to teach some StarCraft 2 action. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Are you ready to
Yeah,
learn?
you back from vacation, ready to go?
Yeah. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. I when I was there, I was like towards the end of it, I was like, man, I'm ready to be back on my computer again. And then now, after being on my computer for a few days, I'm like, man, I want to go to the beach again. like, I kind of like
Yeah,
it's you just got so used to it, you know. And I it was really fun going to the beach daily and getting like so much food. I want to
I
be
can
able to do it.
totally see that.
Like, yeah, do it like once a
You just
week.
not behind your computer and not playing and being like, shit, what am I supposed to do right now?
Well, I think a perfect day for me would be I could have the beach like early in the day when I wake up first, go to the beach, go like swim, go eat some like nachos and quesadillas and stuff, and then come back to my computer. That'd be a perfect day.
That's a
But
good day
but
right there.
yeah, but you can only
Anyway,
have one or the other. Hey man,
so
yeah.
thanks for my second coaching session, which is this one. Um, I'll give you a little update.
Okay,
You coached me for the first time in December of 2020, and I was like gold something.
okay.
And since then, I'm now plat two, so I'm
Ooh,
moving up.
damn, dude.
And I have like some questions which I
Sure.
want to ask you, which are not necessarily, a replay or playing a game with you, but I also have a replay, um, whatever you want to do. So, like, my situation is I'm playing unranked games for now, and I'm trying to win consistently at plat two or above before I play on the ladder. Uh, I don't know if that's a good idea from your part or not, but that's sort of what I've been doing. And I've been winning a lot, about 50%. Usually I win macro games. I do have some trouble with, early all-ins, although I've been getting a little bit better at that.
Sure.
And I have a PvP replay from today that I won, but I saved it because it's basically a vibe style play. It's basically what you taught me in December: charge a lot, immortal archon, maxing at 930, stuff like that. So maybe we could look at that and see if there's anything wrong in my B to GM style build. I'm also kind of thinking like I'm like 95% macro, maybe 5% micro, but maybe I should make that like 7%, to edge my way into diamond. I also thought if there's like a different build that you can teach me, like I've been doing charge lot immortal archon every time, but making like a colossus if there's mass hydra, and changing it basically, but mostly sticking to that. So if you have another like almost at diamond build for Protoss, I would love to learn that just for some diversity. But otherwise, that's kind of where I'm at.
That sounds good. We can definitely talk about specific like a way to like fine tune your build based on like something your opponent might be doing. That sounds great. It won't
Yeah,
be too technical, but yeah, sure.
yeah. I cheated a little bit, Vibe, because I listened to your diamond videos, even though I'm not there yet, and
Yeah,
I have a couple of micro questions, but
sure.
I know that that's not my
That
focus.
I'll answer it. Like, it's totally fine. If this was Twitch chat and you were in Gold League or you're in Platinum League, and you were asking me, hey Vibe, so how do I micro, uh, this or that or the other thing? And then I'm like, what league are you? And you're like, I'm Gold 1. I'd be like, well, if you really want to get out of gold, I would go back down the spiel of, B to GM is definitely what you want to aim for,
Yep.
just macro, 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 macro. But I mean, if you actually have a micro question and your aim is to continue to advance, to diamond and beyond, I would give a disclaimer by saying I think it applies most to diamond players, like as I always do. But I'll
Yeah.
happily answer any micro question you have throughout
Yeah.
this whole lesson.
Basically, my micro at this point is like one blink. So I'm
Yeah.
very mini, and they're
Okay.
really basic questions. Like one of them is, I know I should cut pylons once after the 125 natural nexus to build the core,
Yeah.
but then I wonder, should I keep pylons cut until I build the subsequent Vespine and then pylon, or
Yeah.
should I keep
Yes.
building?
You like
Okay.
the only time in the game when build order actually has a build order that if you want it to be as efficient as possible is the very first like 2 minutes of the game up until you build your second pylon, which is the last structure of the builder, and then from there on, it's just never supply block.
Okay, great. That's great. And the only other question I had really that is not like a replay or whatever is if an opponent stops at 2 bases, right, and you scout that, or 3 bases, whatever it is, I know I'm not supposed to expand. I'm supposed to build some more gates, maybe Twilight Council, do some stuff. When is it safe to expand after that point, or is it just never safe to expand beyond your Terran? Or yeah,
I would say honestly, this is one of those questions again that's this one I would say is a bit more engineered or geared towards higher level play. It's even more so because in Gold League you should not be, or sorry, in Platinum League you should not be reacting to your opponent's build order to the point of you're stopping expansions to react to, you know, his aggression, because it's exactly what everyone does. That keeps them in low leagues forever, because that'd be one of those replays where I'd watch you play it, and I'd be like, okay, well, we're at 7 minutes and your supply is at 94, and if you were to be macroing, your supply could be at 150, and or like 130 or some shit like that, like basically double. And and then the counter rebuttal response, if I asked you why do you do that, would most likely be, well, because it'll kill me though. I'll die. But then it's just one of those things where a lot of players, they overreact, and they think that just because you build more gateways, it means you're safer. When in reality, if you build more gateways and the uptime of those buildings now is only like 30% instead of 100%, it's just it's like the same thing as like 2 gates or something like that. So it's really about maximizing uptime is what you really like. That is the golden rule to improvement. Like that's like your key to promotions essentially. So being overly defensive and reacting to expansion count is, I would say, the only time that ever counts at all, and the only time you should ever pay attention to that is your very first probe scout to go, are you one basing me or are you playing standard?
Yep.
And that's it.
Got it.
And if they one base you, the only difference you make in your build is you make a shield battery, like early.
Right.
That's all it is, and you will be totally fine, because if you can macro efficiently, you will shit on everyone's awkward 50%, 20%, 30% uptime production builds. Because
Like, ever since you taught me that build in December, I've been able to max out at like 930, and then I make static D, and then I send a unit around and all that. So it's been really good, and I'm sticking with that.
That's good.
So don't get the impression that I want to be like a cool micro guy. I definitely don't.
No, sure. I totally get it.
But I have a replay if you want to look at it, which is me attempting to do your build. Or we can do something else.
Do you have any more questions about anything?
Okay, I played a plat player who was like doing some fancy stuff, and he was doing a lot of probe scouting, like putting a probe in the middle of the map, kind of above the third. And I assume that's because a pro must have made like this build lately, where they do proxy voids with shield batteries, with third bases.
Yeah.
And like, should I scout for that shit with PvP?
No. So in PvP, like in general, it doesn't even matter what matchup it is, but we'll specifically talk about PvP. The general idea of scouting for proxies and scouting for all this random garbage, it really only matters, again, if your opponent is going for no expansion in the very beginning of the game, and then if you just react by going, okay, I'll make a shield battery, the next best thing you can do to make your life super easy and not, overreact to be like, okay, now I got to pull 3 probes off my middle line and go scout 4 different like locations with like maybe a stalker and 3 probes and just find it. Yep. Where is it? And it's like, well, you stop building probes as well at the same time, because you just like, you're not macroing when you should be, because you're spending way too much time like move commanding probes all over the place. You'd be better off just building around the edges of your base. Like literally pylon 3 could be like at the top of your base on like the fog spot, and the other pylon could be in like the other corner of your base on the other fog spot. So you have all these like the perimeters of your base kind of have like tripwires where it's like notifications that you're going to get attacked. So it's like a warning that you go, oh, okay, cool. I'm seeing fucking void, Stargate and batteries over there. So now I can react to that in a certain way, because
that's become like my new build against Protoss. Pylons at the edge of my base, because they're always up to something.
Because you definitely just want you want as much mining to be going on as possible. So scouting longer. Honestly, the only thing I think that would do to you, the more you scout the map, would be, number 1, you lose mining time off of the initial guys that are scouting, and number 2, if you focus too hard on it, you could actually stop building probes altogether because you get so caught up in the moment of trying to like shift move a probe around like a bunch of terrain, and you're like, oh shit, well I didn't build probes for the last 32 seconds, but I didn't find a proxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's it for like my questions.
Okay.
If I think of one, I'll let you know.
Sure. I guess we can jump into a replay then.
Sure.
For check out your build. So just go ahead and log into BattleNet and either join the group chat, the Vibrator group chat, or you can send me a message through the GM list. Either way is totally fine. And if you don't know how to,
remind me how to do that?
yeah, sure. So we'll just do the message thing because it's faster, easier. So in top right on your little avatar portrait, left click it. It opens up your profile, and then in middle left you'll see a ladders button with an arrow. Click that.
Yeah.
At the same spot, click it again for the Grandmaster ladder list, and now you can scroll all the way down to rank 140, and right-click my name and send me a message, and then I'll make a party with you.
Hey, you moved up from last time.
Oh God!
You were
140 is higher than last time.
You were 177. I think.
Oh Jesus! I was on the verge of getting kicked out of it. No, it's all good. All right, so I invite you to a party, and then I'll make you leader. And then all you gotta do now is you make the Watch with Others replay, whatever replay you want to host. But before you start it, just right-click my name in the lobby and make me the lobby host, so that I have access to controlling the timers.
All right, I am going to watch with others, and you're there. I'm making you lobby host.
Yep. And this gives me access
it.
to, okay, perfect. And this gives me access to like control the timers and bounce around the clock and stuff. All right,
yeah, so if you notice some errors in your build that I'm doing, let me know. Take me to task, whatever.
Sure. So you're playing a random guy as well, which makes it more confusing. So I'm not going to be too critical on your pylon placement.
I know how you play against randoms, and that's how I did it. So you'll see.
Okay, that's good. High ground ramp. Is that what you're doing? Is that what I'm going to see?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think it's the most reliable. Okay. So we got yeah, no, that's pylon's good place. Everything's looking good.
I tried to move some probes to the closer mineral stacks too.
You actually there was one thing I was gonna say. Your pylon felt like it was maybe a tiny bit late, and I want to see if you queue up a probe before you throw the pylon down while a probe's already in production. I think you did. I just want to make sure you're not doing that, because if you are, like right here, do you do it? Okay, no, you did not. It was good. So I had it on faster. I couldn't really tell if you did or not, but I just want to make sure you're not doing that. Okay. That because again, like the first build order of these buildings they're all so fucking important, and anything that delays any of them is gonna throw the build off. Yep. But you did it fine. That was all good. All right, and then we got one little tip I can give you right here. Is I noticed there's actually a lot of people that do this kind of stuff, but when your probe is going to build a nexus, or sorry, not like any building, nexus could be involved in this too, but like your gateway, for instance, don't let the probe sit where it is right now, where it's chilling like way north of where you want to build it. Instead, what you should just sit in the placement of where the building is going to be, because any worker in StarCraft 2, the way AI works is if there's two workers, one of them has to get out of the way and be like, move, I got to build a building here. And they're all like, okay. And then you have to wait. The worker leaves and then you're good. But if it's the one worker that's going to build the building, and so like the only worker that's there is the one that's going to build the structure, no matter what race it is, you can build on top of yourself. So the fact that the probe now is like it's like a 2-second difference of walking down to build the gateway, it just means your gateway is going to more likely be delayed, essentially. Yep. It's not really justified.
I think I screwed it up anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Because there's also things like the reason why this is kind of important is because automatically you're like 1 second away from where the structure should be going down, and that's just like an unnecessary second to be delayed. But then there's also acceleration in StarCraft 2, where the unit doesn't go full move speed when you tell it to go there. So it's like it has to like slowly ramp up into it. It's like a car starting up to drive to like 60 miles an hour or something. So it just makes it unnecessarily delayed. And again, it's only 2 seconds, but this is a bad habit.
Yep.
to continuously always have, because it means all your structures are always going to be delayed if you do that. So definitely try to, from now on, if you're going to have, like when you pull a probe, the correct, perfect way to do it is to just have the probe inside where the structure is going to be at the amount of money that you're going to have to do it. And if you get really good at it, you want to pull the probe to the point to where you're going to accumulate enough money or enough resources to where you have like just enough as you get there. And
Yep.
that one's not that big of a deal for you for now. It'll become more useful for you when you're probably like masters or something, like masters plus. But for now, the only thing you should do, because again, like you're just spending it as you get money, it's fine. As long as you maintain a relatively good amount of resources, you're totally fine. But the one for you is just make sure your probes are always in the structure's location so you don't waste time walking to build it further.
Okay. Now I get why you go through the beginning of players so much. See, I fucked up right there.
Yeah, no, it's like this
Every
gateway.
second counts here.
Yeah, it does for sure. Like this gateway's already like 7 seconds late, and
Yeah.
that means all of your tech is late. And like, I'm not even kidding. If you played it, if I were to play you myself, or if you were playing like a Masters plus Protoss or something, you would automatically die if they did pressure now for doing something like this.
Wow.
Because, and the reason why,
Just for that, huh?
well, the reason why is because there's like units in StarCraft 2 kill units in StarCraft 2 really fast. And it's not even just like military versus military units. It could be things like, well, I'm going to go for gateway expand and your opponent's going to go for gateway expand. And now because your gateway's delayed and you both expand, you actually could probably give your opponent some time now essentially to harass your, let's say you lose 2 probes because of this. Like 7-second difference of like if he has 2 stalkers get into your base as your second stalker is not done yet, then he like hits your stalker with 2 stalkers, so you actually like back off because you're like, oh god, I don't want to lose a stalker, and then he kills like 2 probes before your 7-second stalker pops out because he just uses like 3 auto attacks to do this, and then he runs away, and you're like, well now I'm for literally no reason I'm 2 probes behind now. Then it like 2 probes behind when you both only have like let's say 24 probes is substantially big. It's like because again, if you think about the way I like to talk about it too, is because a lot of people like to think, oh, 1 or 2 probes, who cares? But if you think about percentages of your economy, if you have 24 workers and you lose 2 of them, what is that, like 8% or something like that, or like 7%? It's something around there. It's just like it's like a decent percentage of like all of your economy right now. So
Yeah.
it does.
It all stacks up, right?
Yeah,
Every mistake builds
yeah.
on the previous.
It adds up pretty fast. Like it definitely sucks. And if you can, and the thing about it is it's why it's so important to talk about it, is because if it's something that's super easy to fix, why not fix it?
Yep. Good tip.
All right, and then now going into his base. So this scout, I would say this. Okay, this is my opinion on the scout of PvP. Your scout is very early, and if you're paranoid about cannon rushes, it's justified. I don't know how often you fight cannon rushes, but if you're like, fuck, I'm so tired of cannon rushes, they're the worst, then I'd be like, okay, this is totally fine. I don't mind that you have a what's it called? You have a probe going into his base around like just after like 120 or so. Because like right now you would be seeing a pylon being like finished at your base probably.
Mm-hmm.
Like it would be almost finished or finishing or whatever. But you'd be getting into his ramp and you'd be seeing a forge and you'd be like, yeah, no, this is fucking real. This is actually a real cannon rush and it's legit. So if that was the case, then you could react if you knew how to make a reaction then, and you were just you wanted to know, then awesome, cool beans, you got it. But if you're gonna just play standard overall, and your plan is just to play standard for overall build, which I would say is more likely going to be the case for you, especially in Platinum League, I think if your scout goes out after the core, that's better. So
Okay.
the reason why is because nobody in PvP, other than cannon rushing, nobody in PvP is going to attack you until after 2 minutes. Like it's just not going to happen. Like the first thing that's going to attack you is going to be either a stalker or an adept. Or like a tech unit, which is even later, like 3 minute plus.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So all this does, because look at your resources, for instance. You do have a fully saturated emitter line, which is wonderful. It's great. But your gas right now is 1 out of 3. And that's not the worst thing. You're obviously building into it more and more and more. But you could just mine more resources for longer. And the biggest thing of all is when, like, we're going to talk about it for just a second, okay? We're going to go into his base, and we're going to see what's the relevancy.
I'm looking at my camera, FYI. So
Okay. So The relevancy of, to be honest, I'm not gonna lie. I thought we were talking about a PvP, and I didn't even look at the icons. I thought this was a Protoss.
PvT.
Okay.
Screwed up.
So no, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. So I take back what I was saying. If this was PvP, so I was expecting to see a fucking gateway. I was like, okay, where's the fucking gateway pylon? Never mind. But okay. So I literally didn't even look at the Terran's icon. But anyways, I just want to make that point clear. I'll move on from it in just a second. Okay. But if it was a Protoss, you look at your gateway. It's not even done yet. If this was a PvP, you'd want to scout after the core, because if you scout after the core, your probe would get to the base like as the core finishes, and you'd see how many gateways he's going to build units with out of those gates. But he's not going to make zealots from his base and walk across the map or some shit like that. And if he did, it would be awful, because they would just get across the map and die to a stalker or an adept or something. Okay. So yeah, PvP, simply put, PvP core scout, super good, because it still gives you all the information before you get killed, unless it's cannon rush. Cannon rush is pretty obvious though.
With the gate scout with Zerg, right?
Yeah, against Zerg and Terran, you should totally do what you just did. That's why I was saying, sorry, everything I said is irrelevant now. It's just PvP. But if you want to make it just universal, easy peasy, it's not the worst thing in the world if you're, if you feel just, you want to make it super simple and be like, well, every matchup I'll just do Gateway Scout. If you want to do that for now, it's fine. I would say this is kind of like a Masters thing where it's like an upper level league thing where if you want to really make everything as efficient as you could, this PvP worth of PvP type of a probe scout would just be super fast, and a little too early. Now we'll drop that. We'll move on to the PvT now, because I actually totally like your build so far. Again, PvT is fine. I love the fact that I
might have even showed you the wrong replay, but whatever. We can do this.
Sure, it's okay. So PvT now. Your probe scout's great. Going to see what the Terran's doing with your first probe after the gateway tells you, is there production or is there not production in the Terran's base? Am I getting proxied? Am I not? Proxies are actually super common against Protoss, as in Marauder proxy or Reaper proxy. I would not say Marine proxy is way more common against Zerg, but Marauder proxy and Reaper proxy are super common against Protoss. And if you haven't fought it yet, you will definitely fight it more in the future. So scouting like you did is great. I love it. And now you see, the ramp is blocked by a Terran. You see a Rax. We'll actually back it up for just a second. I want to show you something that's super important and relevant. This is something always to look at, okay? So you see double depot with a barracks. The biggest thing that tells you everything right now is look at the barracks, and it's look at the health bar essentially above the barracks. It tells you production time, and this thing is almost done. It's about the same as your gateway. So, and if you're also, your gateway was a little bit delayed this game, and so his barracks is actually a little bit ahead. But simply put, your guys are basically both going depot, racks, pylon, gateway. So there's no awkward shenanigans going on. For instance, if this was a delay, if this barracks is only halfway done right now, I'd be like, okay, he's either got another barracks hiding in his base, he's got potentially a barracks proxied, or he's got gas super fast. Those would be the options if this was a delay, like a super delayed barracks in his doorway, because it would be a second, or it's either a first barracks with the gas cost in front of it, or it would be a second structure altogether, like another barracks somewhere else, because there's no reason to delay the barracks that long. You know what I mean? It'd be like building the barracks when he has like 310 minerals or something. So you know that it's standard right now. And I would say if I were you looking at this and he like lifts up his wall and he he doesn't let you in and you kind of back off, right now automatically I would be thinking to myself, okay, so he might be going for a Reaper. Basically, he may or may not go for a Reaper, but I already think this guy is going for depot, racks, gas right away, and then a second depot, because this racks is very standard, and you cannot make a standard racks like this and then make a second racks behind it. It's not really super practical. You could, but it would just be, it would be one of those things for you that if he did do that, you wouldn't even give a shit, because it's really, it would just be delayed if like the proxy racks was just starting, not finishing right now. You know what I mean? Because you would easily have units in time to defend it. So it's probably not double racks, because double racks is very non-threatening now, because that you can tell he clearly made that racks in his main first. So it's probably a gas. And now the question would be, are you going to get attacked by a Reaper when your Stalker's out, or is he just not going to make a Reaper attack you at all? And that would make me think this. if I were you again, I would already be expecting a gas because it's just standard, and he's just kind of trying to quote unquote hide his gas. And if what's it called? If you don't get attacked by Reaper, you should be expecting like a faster factory off of like Marines or something like that. That's the way I would see it, because you can tell he probably has a gas, but like, what's he gonna do with said gas?
So if no Reaper, faster factory expect.
Yeah, because like if you think about it, I just want to make sure you understand that concept.
Yeah.
This totally means gas for the Terran player, because again, like you should think that. And the reason why you should think that is because what is the only thing that is threatening to you right now? It's a gas. Like that's the only thing that, out of everything he's done so far, the only thing he could do that would actually have any type of merit or any type of power at all would be a gas behind this, which could lead to many things. You don't know what it's going to lead to yet, but it could lead to things that could be a problem for you in the future, because his one racks is totally fine on the high ground. But again, the reason why we're thinking about this so critically is because he walled you out. So he's trying to make you go, oh shit, what is it? But nothing is threatening multi-racks wise, because he rushed a second depot to wall you out. So this already rules out the fact that it cannot be like a 4 racks. It cannot be like a 3 racks. It could at the most be like a 2 racks for just the current moment in the game that we're in. And if his first racks, because again, you're comparing his money to your money, and you don't have enough money for like 4 gates already. And he already made like the second pylon, for instance. So like there's limitations essentially, but the fact that his first racks is defensive means that there's no real like fast proxy, because you can tell that based off production that was his first building. So the overall underlying concept here is even if this was multi racks, you're not going to get attacked and be like, oh shit, he's killing my pylon before my units are ready, or something like that. Basically is all I'm trying to say. So the only thing that is actually threatening is gas here. That's the only thing that actually could be, it would like it's the only thing that could be efficient. I feel like I'm reading chat as well. They're like, this make my brain hurt. There is a difference of, there's like efficiency and inefficiency, and if this guy does anything that is not a gas, it's inefficient. It's bad, and bad builds don't be good builds.
Know, a factory is 200. Gas,
it's 100 gas. It's only 100.
100, yeah, okay.
But it's just one of those things where if he makes multiple barracks, it's not threatening, because the units would attack your base too late for it to be threatening.
Okay.
That's assuming that you do your build normal and you don't waste like 40 seconds.
Yeah. I get it.
So I just want people to be able, like you specifically, obviously because it's your lesson. I just want you to be able to look at a wall like that and not feel panicky, and not be like, oh god, I'm gonna die. Oh shit, I don't know what it is, because you should know what it is. If you just you're like, basically the thing I'm trying to make you feel convinced of is you just rule out builds that suck essentially, and anything that this guy's doing sucks except for the fact if he was going for a gas, because it's too late. Okay. It'll hit you way too late to be worth it.
I usually rally my 19th probe to the...
Yeah, it's good.
Like you said.
I love that. That's perfect. I love it. All right, now you need a second pylon. 100%. Okay, good shit. You built it, or you're building it. I like it. You're barely not gonna supply block. It's gonna be like maybe like a 2-second supply block, which is very minor.
It's close.
Okay, that right there, what you just did right there, that's something you can fix super easy. That's a waste of resources. I'm glad I just saw you do that. It's so
what I do?
Right here. When you saturate your gas, okay? I love the fact that you're saturating the mineral line with a little bit excess. That's good. That means because you are still getting some efficiency out of the mineral line. However, when you do this right here and you grab 3 probes, you just grab 3 probes. I know you're just green boxing it, and maybe you're shift clicking 1, 2, 3, and you say, "Hey, probes, go mine that gas." So far, what you've done is correct. It's totally fine. But if you notice there's any probes in your selection when you right-click that gas, all you gotta do, and this only takes like a millisecond to do this, if you see minerals are about to be destroyed because you're gonna replace it with gas, as soon as you right-click that gas and all the probes are now being told, go mine the gas. If you hit C on the probes, it stands for return cargo. It's because if you click them right now, you'll see the command for it. This command exists if minerals or gas are in the worker's hand. It does not exist. So like for instance, click a probe without resources in its hand. That button is it's vanished. It's not there. So it only shows that button for a worker that has resources in its hand. And if you already told that probe, right click on the gas, and then you hit return cargo, the probes will return the minerals to the Nexus, and then they will go back to the last job you gave them, which was right clicking the gas. So you just
So they lose the minerals if I don't do that.
Yeah, if you just mine the gas and you just let it happen, they will all delete their minerals to pick up gas. And you just basically lose 15 minerals because you didn't hit C on the keyboard once. And hitting C on the keyboard would take, like, snapping your fingers and you're done. Like, it could take half a second.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like, it's like a small thing that you should definitely do always. It's like a little bit of a boost in your economy that, like, if this was like 70 probes, you wouldn't even notice. But if this is only, like, you know, your one mineral line, you do notice. Like, it just slows shit down. Alright, and then we got...
I put a shield battery because I was intimidated, but now I won't do that anymore.
Oh, it's so if you do blind battery, like kind of like, so he did make a second depot, which is already non-standard. I would say just for you, to make yourself feel safer, I would say what you just did is totally fine with the battery, because you can still do everything that you're trying to do. Pretty much, like, you can still keep your probes rolling, you can still keep your gateway rolling. The only thing this battery will do is it will slowly or very slightly delay your what's it called, your robo and second gateway, which is, it's very minor. It's not going to be like, oh my god, it's so late now, and it'll keep you safe from, like, if the guy randomly pokes you with something. It gives you peace of mind essentially, and it's good to have. So if you want my honest opinion, I would say you could have delayed this battery by a little bit if you would have paid attention to the barracks timing. But if you don't pay attention to it, you could throw it down like you did if you're feeling a little bit paranoid. But the thing that would have justified to make that battery right now like you did would be if that barracks was only like halfway done when your gateway's finishing. Because then you're like, oh shit, you're doing something fishy that's actually fishy. Because your second gateway is, or sorry, your second barracks is the one you're showing me. What did you do before that? Did you proxy a barracks? Like, what's fucking happening?
Yeah. Okay, I'll definitely look at help.
Yeah, it matters a lot. It's super huge. It's a good way to read players. All right, then you're missing a probe on the gas in the main. It's a little damaging to you, but I mean, I already know you know that. It's probably just an oversight where you're like, ah, shit, I only have 2 out of 3 on that gas. And then, like right now, when you built that gateway, that was, I would say in general, do not build pylon number 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Or actually, sorry, that's pylon number 3. Do not build pylon number 3 until after you build the gateway and the robo. And the reason why is because, like, just because conceptually, if you think about it, the Nexus, when it's finished, it gives you a shitload of supply, and like, look at your open supply. You have 15 supply, and you're ramping it up so slow at the moment because you only have 1 gate currently and the 2 Nexus itself. So if you actually made robo gateway first and then made the other pylon after, that would just flow better for you. And then, because you want to get those initial production buildings up sooner than later.
Okay.
But
robo gateway third pylon.
Yeah, and the good time to build them is after you make the sentry, while the sentry's in production. That if you make the robo and the second gate during the time frame of a sentry being built, you're playing correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of sucks for you about the whole 2 gas. It will overall bite you in the ass a little bit over time, because like, that's, for instance, like your robo.
I didn't see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just gonna slow your tech down a little bit here and there. And
I think I catch it eventually, but
be very careful too when you play a game and your battery is where it is. Like right now, your sentry and your stalker are not actually out of range of being healed by the battery. So I would say for your first battery, just to make yourself feel super safe, because again, I feel like holding the ramp is more impactful than holding the front of your Nexus, because it's more of a choke point, and it's also high ground vision for you. So if your battery was like on the north side of your nexus, touching the nexus basically, that would be perfect. Because then you could actually have your stalker and your sentry like kind of where they are, maybe even a little bit closer to the ramp, and you always get that first shot engagement on whatever could poke you.
So like build a battery enough to hit units right in front of the nexus and protect probes.
I would say this battery should not be designed to protect probes right now. It should be designed to protect your army and the ramp.
Got it.
Because if you have to pull, like if it gets to a point where you're like, oh shit, well probes are gonna start dying, that means that you should be pulling the boys anyways to help your army in the front of your base. Like if you feel overwhelmed and you're like, okay, let's pull the probe line, then the battery can heal your probes as you engage like towards the front of your natural. But if you have a situation where if you're getting attacked and your opponent has, let's just say he has like 7 marauders or whatever, he's attacking you with some type of a power hit, if you pull back to the back of the nexus and it's something that's actually very threatening, when you do that, you give him the ability to either kill your nexus itself, walk up your ramp into your main base, avoid your probes. If you pull back all the way to the probe line with your army, he could just kill the pylon, have your charging up the battery. Like it just, you give him way too much control of your natural if you do that. So I think ramp control is way better, because if it comes down to it as well, if your sentry actually has some energy ready to go and you actually go, oh, let's force field that ramp, that's like potentially game ending versus all ins.
Yep. Totally get it. I was confusing this battery with like other bases batteries, I guess.
Yeah. All right, and then your Robo second gate are coming up. Nice hallucination.
So I'm basically scouting to make sure he's still on 2 bases and just see what tech he has.
Okay, so
it looks pretty standard to me.
Yeah, I would say like the fact that you scouted the natural is very important, because you actually up to this point you didn't even know if he was on 2 bases or not yet. Like you could assume he is, but you didn't really fully know yet. But now you do, which is great. And you saw double factory, double tech lab, reactored marines, and a starport. This right now looks like a super fat timing of Terran. This guy looks like he's going to attack you with some siege tanks and supported by stuff, essentially. The fact that he has a medevac or a starport here, he may use like liberators to push with it. He might use medevacs to maybe drop it in your main base or something like that. It's really up in the air. But the fact that it's not being supported by a reactor makes me think it might be it. Like I can't guarantee what this guy's going to do, obviously. But if I was playing this game, I'd be like, well, I don't think that one medevac production starport can actually sustain double tank production and also reactor production marines of having an entire army get in the medevacs and drop like my main base. And if for instance, if he was going to drop me, then it would mean he's probably going to push the wall of my base and then leapfrog over into my units, like pick them up like with cycles, like okay, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. So, and I would be thinking, okay, well, you could build liberators one at a time though, and those could support the tanks just as well. But either way, no matter what it is, I'd be thinking automatically tank timing. I'm going to be like he might be going defensive tanks, but this is a lot of tanks. So the fact that you are making an immortal, I think that's totally fine. I would have said maybe go for like observer into like faster colossus. If this was not like, okay, again, this is platinum. I don't want to get too crazy. I don't want to start going crazy with compositions. Colossus are super good against Terran overall in general, and so are disruptors. But again, this is kind of higher level. If we're talking plat, I actually think you should just make immortals. Because again, it's just like it's a solid, sturdy unit for macro. I don't want to get ahead of myself and be like, oh, let's just fucking switch your build up every game. So the fact that you're going immortals is fine.
I don't switch it up. I might throw in a Colossus like mid game, but usually I just stick with it depending upon what they do.
Colossus, I'll just tell you right now, just a disclaimer here. Colossus are fucking amazing against Terrans who go for Widow Mines and Bio. Super good. And Disruptors are super good against Terrans who go for what this guy's doing, which is lots of tanks. Or like, more on the tank side of things. But both of those units are designed to like crush pushes from Terran, essentially. They can do a lot more than that too, but they're really good at like stopping pushes. So, but for now, Immortals are also really good at killing tanks, so that's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I don't use disruptors. I'm not cool enough or high
No,
level
yeah,
enough for that.
that unit can definitely be a double-edged sword where you can fuck yourself over.
Yeah. So I had a pretty early. It looks like a pretty.
Your
Kind of
third's
a
good.
late third.
I like your third.
All right.
It's good time. Your third was taken when you were already fully saturated on your natural, and it was taken,
Yeah.
you know, at a respectable time where you're still maintaining production out of your immortal or your robo and your gates. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh,
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I didn't see a third, but I knew that if you were playing, you would probably expand or
yeah,
at least try.
like
Yeah. So
if you take your third between 4 and 5 minutes, around like 4:30, 4:40, that's a good third. That's a very good third. So your third was perfectly timed. Or it was very well timed. It was like around 4:40. It's super good.
and I'm looking at income, if that matters. Just
You definitely should be. So yeah, that's huge. Definitely. Okay. I'm like looking at your natural for a second. The probes are all messed up here. You fixed one of them. Okay, you fixed both of them. You gotta be okay. And you fixed the one probe on the missing natural. So the gas is still kind of fucked up in the main. I feel like this probably will be this way all game, which is okay. It's fine. But I'm glad
did
that
not see that.
I'm glad that you fixed the natural, because that would have for a second that was going to be 7 probes not doing what they need to be doing, like 1 probe missing on the mineral line and 6 on missing on the gas. But you fixed it right away, so that shows me that you're actively looking at your base, which is nice. That's
Constantly.
you need to be doing that.
With
So
camera hotkeys.
yeah, that's good that you're keeping tabs and you're trying to keep up on it. And I feel like the gas in your main it's just got like an oversight, or you feel like it's already good, but it's okay. It's fine. Keep making units. Now at this point, you should be getting ready to take your 4th base. And the reason why is because you're at 16 out of 16 on the 3rd. You're still maintaining production out of everything you have, which is nice. And your probes are going to get to a point where they're going to have nowhere to go again. So 4th base around a little bit after 6 minutes is a perfect 4th base for this kind of a playstyle.
I think that's what I do. I send another scout out. Yeah.
And after you take your 4th base, that's when you want to start kind of exploding your production and upgrades a bit more.
Yeah. I don't know why that probe is sitting there, man.
It's okay. It's definitely like it's just one. And at this point, you have 67 probes. One probe now is, like 1.4% or something like that, or like 1.3% of your total economy. If this probe was one of your first 20, that's like 5% right there. That'd be huge. So, every probe you get beyond the last number you had makes every little probe more insignificant as an individual than it was before. Just because the more you have, the easier it is to not realize that it's there or not. But obviously, you want to avoid all probes at all costs to like waste time. But it's okay. I'm not gonna like beat you on the head over that one probe. Just chilling with the immortal. Okay, so like this guy right now, automatically, like this is the kind of shit where you would feel like this doesn't really need to be like talked about that long or that much. But this dude is definitely overreacting with missile turrets. That feels great for you. And that's a sign that like, if I was playing this game or if I was watching you play this game, that is a clear sign that you are so far ahead already, even without knowing what's going on in this game yet entirely. You cannot be that fucking totally. The what?
Are you talking about? I have 70. He has 40.
No, the missile turrets he's making. He's making 4 missile turrets in his natural, and he's making it for no reason. You don't even have a Stargate. He's just playing paranoid. Like, this guy probably hates Void Rays, essentially, would be my guess. So, all he's doing is he's putting them... Like, it'd be like if you were on, 40-something probes and you had fucking, like, 12 photon cannons in your base. Because you're like, well, I hate Banshees and battlecruisers. Yeah, your probing is nice. It's good. What are you going to say?
I keep leaving one Vespine empty. I don't know why.
It's okay. Yeah, just
one Vespine is like one for.
Yeah, just try to make sure you the way you want to do it is when you have a moment when you're like, okay, I just did a macro cycle, I have nothing really to do right now. I'm just waiting for the next round of stuff to happen because you are limited by how much you can do. It's like you make two stalkers and an immortal. Or you make you make your next nexus, or you just made a couple pylons, so you're not going to need to make a couple more pylons for another 20 seconds or something. Just take a brief moment when you know you have just a moment to spare, like maybe 5 seconds, and do this maybe like once a minute, and be like, okay, Nexus in the main. Just look at the numbers. Just make it an effort to look at the numbers and go gas good, mineral line good, natural, same thing, third base, same thing, and you'll get really fast at it over time to where you can do this entire process in a matter of about 2 seconds. And this is a good habit to develop for yourself as well, because not only does it make sure like you don't have problems like what you're having in the gases, for instance, but if you don't hear mineral field depleted, you're like, oh, I'm red. It's red now. Let's fix that. Let's make sure I grab the probes and go over and yada yada yada, stuff like that.
Let our enemy know our fury. Mineral cluster expended.
I see he's bringing some Hellions to my new base.
Yep. You're crushing right now. Your macro is absurdly stronger than this guy's macro. Your timings of your your timings of your forges and your council are great. Yeah, I would say the second you get that council done, and I love that you're making more gateways too right now. That's super good. I would say go up to about 8 gateways would be ballin', and right now you have 7. You're just about there. 7's also kind of decent. 8 gateways just is nice, and I'll tell you why in just a second. It's a specific thing, which is if you add on the forges and the council like you did first, right after you take the 4th base, that's wonderful. It's super good. You did it perfect. If you add on the gateways right after you have the next round of like money free to be freed up, like you did, that's great. But this should be paired with a Templar Archives, and having an equal and like not an odd but an even number of gateways is really important here, because there will be times when you will be making pure Archon, which means you're going to need to have an even number of Warpins. Because if you have 7 Templar Warpin, you're going to be able to make 3 Archons and have a half, like just a Templar sitting there being like, where's my other half? I'm just waiting for my partner to warp in. And, you know, if you get attacked at that exact moment, or if like something harasses you and the Templar dies because Templars are super squishy, you know, that just... Or if it's like, if you just forget to do it later and you just never make it an Archon later, it's just, it makes it easier to warp in Archons essentially. And right now at this point, as soon as you start adding on more gateways, you should immediately stop going Stalkers and start going Archon Zealot.
Yeah. Would you say I should build a second Robo like after the 4th base?
No,
like
not yet. Do it late. Do it more Robos once you max. Do not do more Robos right now. The only time I would ever justify more Robos right now is if you thought your opponent was genuinely going mech. If you're like, no, it's definitely mech. And like this guy's build looks kind of mechy because he's got double factory with double starport. Like it's kind of weird. This could be a valid argument for a mech game. But if you think it's bio by any means, do not make multiple Robos too early. Okay. Just do that once you max out and you want to like really ramp up your production to be like, okay, now I want to have 20 gateways and 2 Robos, or 20 gateways and 3 Robos, or something like that, where it's like your remax potential is super crazy good. Yeah, but for now, 1 Robo is good to max out with. It's fine. Because the thing is by the time you do max, you'll have, you should have about like 7 Immortals or 8 Immortals anyways, because you've been making Immortals ever since the start of the game.
Yeah.
So now, if we're talking Chrono Boost, your Chrono Boost was good on the probes. It was good shit. I definitely saw you Chrono Boosting a lot, and none of your Nexus are even close to capping, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I would say just make sure as soon, like I think you just did it too. I think a Chrono Boost just came off your upgrade buildings, but just make sure for now, always prioritize your Chrono Boost on your council until your first upgrade's done. So make sure that thing is pumping chrono. Like every time it's down, it's up again. Because if you start switching into Zealot Archon, and I'm glad you're going charge first, by the way. If you start going into Zealot Archon, and you get attacked, and your charge is like 75% of the way done, and your opponent's just like smashing your fucking Zealots as they like slowly waddle into the fight, it just makes your army massively weaker. So that's a huge upgrade to get. Making sure you always Chrono Boost just the first council upgrade. And then you can still get Blink as well, but you don't need a Chrono Boost Blink. It's fine. And then after you get, if you have excess Chrono Boost, like to spare, you can also throw double Chronos at your Forges. That'd be nice. but just making sure that
Yep.
the priority is the council until charge is done,
Priorities council.
and
Okay.
then priority becomes forges.
I usually used to do forges before council, but I'll switch that
Yeah, just for charge. It's just for charge.
just for charge.
Yeah, you're making the archives now. You have the right idea, honestly. Like overall, you have the right idea. Yeah, it's not bad, dude. It's definitely looking pretty decent. One thing you're not doing though, this is something that like, gets a lot of people. It just fucks most people I talk to, and it's you have to be very active, very proactive about catching your mineral lines as they mine out, and you need to expand right as it starts. So your main base, and the way this goes, generally speaking, is you want to be expanding about every 2 minutes. That's like if you want a reminder, it's like within the first 2 minutes, like 125, you throw down your natural. Around 4 minutes, like 4:30, you throw down your third base. Around 6 minutes, you throw down your fourth base. Around 8 minutes, you should be throwing down your fourth base or your fifth base. Around 10 minutes, your next base. 12 minutes, your next base. And the reason why is because you expanded like this in the first place. And every single time you're hitting these next thresholds, your base that was made 8 minutes ago, which is going to need a new base, because you're on 4 bases and it's a base every 2 minutes essentially. So by the next 2 minute mark, whatever was made 8 minutes ago is going to mine out. It's going to start having those mining out problems. And this matters all the way until you have about 7 or 8 bases in total. Because by then, most maps, you'll have controlled every base on the map on your side of the map. And then at that point, it's kind of harder to expand unless you're like dominating the game. But as long as you can maintain it up to the point of you controlling all of your side of the map, that is fucking solid. So your fifth base is a bit late because of you're mining out, but you're not taking expansion. Because now,
but the key is to have 80 probes efficiently always working at all times.
Yes.
80 to 85. Right?
Yeah. And like right now, for instance, like if you fix those 2 probes on your fourth base, you put them in the gas instead of on the mineral line because you have 18 out of 16 and then 2 out of 3. That'd be perfect. If you fixed those 2 probes and your 2 gases at your third and your main, that would be perfect. Your natural is perfect. So like the next time a patch mines out, if you fix your fourth with what it already has, and if the next time a patch mines out in your main base, those 2 probes went to go mine those 2 open gases, that would be perfect mining still. But if you started another nexus, it would allow you to transfer all the excess probes in your main base to that base, and then you're good to go. So you don't have any like wasted probes. And not only that, but it's also scouting. Like if you have a nexus on another part of the map that's more of an exposed nexus, this is something I don't really talk about a whole lot, but it's really relevant. If you throw down like a nexus in bottom middle or middle right or the bottom right half of the map, and your opponent pushes that and kills it, if it's just a nexus that dies, it alerts you to where he is, and it was like a glorified scout for 400 minerals, which is not the end of the world. But if you don't have any vision at all on the right side of the map, which you don't right now, and suddenly there's like 7 fucking siege tanks sieged down the side of your natural, and then he's killing your probes off your gas and the mineral lines on the right side of your natural, and he's controlling both ramps with a bunch of siege tanks there, and then he starts pushing your base with like Hellions or something like that, and you have to push into a Terran who's already fortified in your base, which is much harder to break. That's so much more value that's going to die than 400 minerals, and it's because you had no idea he was over there. So expanding at these timers not only gives you always perfect probe count for every base no matter when it mines out, but it also gives you more map control, which covers existing probes better. So they're not so exposed as much. But it's just nice to make sure your economy is never just being inefficiently mined.
Yeah, I try to be obsessed with that.
Hey, you're doing a pretty good job already, honestly. So now, at this point, you're getting close to maxing out. Your supply for the game number you're at is not bad. It's definitely respectable. But like right now, you just made a bunch of gates. You still have the robo obviously producing, and you're double boosting your forges, which is wonderful. But your supply is going to start ramping up super fast now. Like if I hit play, for instance, it's 842 and you're at 154. And now it's 8:44, 2 seconds later, and you're a full like 10 supply higher already, just because you warped in a round of Templar, which is totally understandable. It's what's going to keep happening. So what you should be doing right now is you should be around this point is the perfect point in time to have 1 zealot do like the little shift A move thing around the sides of the map just to know where you want to attack. Because
you don't have to wait till you max to do that.
You do not have to wait till you max. What the
Got
goal
it.
is you want to find out where you're going as you max, not find out where to go once you max, and then 45 seconds later then you go, because that's just a big window of time where you waste your max. Because your power spike is the second you hit 200 supply. That is the biggest power spike you're gonna have throughout the entire game, and then it diminishes slowly the longer you wait to attack him once you're 200 supply, because he slowly catches up to you. So it's about being efficient.
New technology researched.
All right, and then.
Upgrade.
Huh.
Army mineral field depleted.
Can I look at what you're looking at or no?
Unfortunately, you can't. The only way you could do that is if this is a live game. I'm sorry. So I'm just kind of bouncing around your base and I'm just looking around. I'll always make sure I talk about whatever it is that I'm seeing.
Okay.
Another thing you could do too, if you don't want to send a zealot out and you want to send, if you still have the sentry, it's totally viable as well to make 2 hallucinated phoenixes at once and have them take the role of what the zealots were going to do. Just have the phoenix fly around the map. Because again, all you want to know is where the fuck did this guy expand? Because the last thing you want to do is be like, I'm always going to attack move into the heart of the Terran's base, into his natural every time. Because the more SimCity he has, the harder it is for your army to be as efficient as it could be. Because it gets more bottlenecked and it gets caught up on buildings, and half your army's engaging his army while the other half's fighting a fucking factory or something. And then another tip I would give you, just like how we talked about the Nexus thing, like how you can like kind of, you know, expand. If you're expanding every 2 minutes, you're good to go. And like, for instance, remember how I talked about every 2 minutes? Look at your natural. 10 minutes rolls around, that's the next 2 minute phase, and now your natural's starting to mine out. So if we had another Nexus again, it would just be like always making sure no matter what we have, our economy is flowing like always. Never has a hiccup. But
Camera hotkeys are very helpful for that.
yeah, no, they're fucking super nice. I love camera hotkeys. I'm actually surprised you're using them already, and that's a super good habit.
I
But
figured it wasn't too micro. It actually made my macro better. So
no, it definitely does. Yeah,
now that
it makes it cleaner for sure. But like right now, another thing you could do that would just make your life easier about minimizing your losses and maximizing your map awareness could be at this stage of the game when you're maxed out, or like when you have a good, you know, you're just looking solid on the total supply you have and the total amount of money you have, your income overall. You could throw down pylons. Like if you make sure you're watching everyone's vision really fast so you can see my pings really quick here in the replay. But if you put like a pylon like there,
Oh.
you just like, you don't have to put a pylon touching vision with every other pylon. That's not necessarily what I would say you have to do. You just want to make sure you have a pylon down at every entrance to your base. So like, if you look at top left, there's 2 ramps here. So you can cover both ramps with the pylon. It doesn't matter if it's on the low ground or the high ground. On the right side of that, where your army is, there's a big fucking like peanut-shaped cliff that's just in the middle of it. You could have a pylon on both sides of that. There's another ramp now with the destructible rocks on the right side of that. You could cover that somehow. There's another little cliff on the very far right that you could have a pylon on near that area, maybe one near the cliff or one on both sides, and then finally you could have one more pylon on like the right side of that shrubbery near the ramp on the very far right. So you could just
That's super helpful.
You could always see if, like, for instance, what if you move out your mid map and the Terran actually pushed where he would have encountered a pylon, but instead he just pushes all the way to bottom right, and he like, as you're in mid map, he like counters your 4th base or your 5th base or something, and you're like, oh fuck, I gotta turn around now. So
Yeah.
That's
a great tip.
yeah, and it's not that expensive either. You spend like 700 minerals, which is not anything at this stage of the game, to just have full
Better
map
me build
awareness.
a pylon around my base. I have some extra pylon for supply elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just have awareness to the point to where if you lose a pylon and have a good fight, it's better than taking a bad fight and losing 20 times what a pylon is worth.
Okay.
Because at this point, your value of your entire base is valued at like probably 13,000 resources. If you include every building you've made and every probe you've made and all your whole army here, it's probably between the range of like 13,000 to 15,000 resources, like between just all of it. And if he kills a pylon, and you have a much better fight because of that, because you're not going to be surprised by it, that's 100 minerals. Just 100 resources versus like 15,000. And I'm not, obviously, just because a pylon's not there doesn't mean he's going to kill your whole base. But there's a good chance that if you realize where he is and you take a good fight, like you attack into him before he's sieged as he's moving towards you because he's not actually at your base yet. You have your army's like decently spread out. So much better than taking a fight when he's already sieged. He's currently killing your nexus and a bunch of probes at it. And he's destroying one of your economies, so now your income is going down. And then before you even take the fight, you lose like 1,700 resources. And then as you take the fight, because he's already sieged or something like that, you're gonna delete he's gonna delete like 1,500 resources again out of your army before you actually connect to him, because like 15 tanks shoot you first. So like it creates a situation where you have such a less panicky defense for yourself, and it's just like clean and smooth, and you're like, oh, he's over there, I'll defend that.
Warping opportunities, right?
I would say not kind of like if you want to do like a counterattack, sure, but if you're like getting attacked and he's like hitting a pylon with like 20 fucking units, like 2 medevacs of a drop, you're never gonna get a warping done in time because he's gonna kill the pylon or kill your units as they're warping in, because a non-speeded warp-in is 11 seconds, which is ridiculously slow, and then a speeded up warp-in is like 2 seconds.
Mineral field exhausted.
All right, so yeah, like you maxed out, a while ago. We're talking around like 940 or something. Like you had the ability to max out like we'll say 10 minutes. We'll just say 10 minutes because you could do it right now.
See, I'm sending my zealots late because I didn't know you should send them early.
Yeah, you should definitely send them before you max, so that the second you do max, you're already going.
Got it.
Because now like at 10, like check this out too. We'll look at his supply. At 10 minutes, he's at 133. So this is your biggest power spike right now that you could have. And now, or really, you just killed a Widow Mine, so now it's actually 200 versus 131. This is a 69. Ooh, damn, 69 supply lead right here. And now let's look at what your supply lead is as you actually move out. And the thing is your Zealot even died on the top because it got killed by a Widow Mine.
Yeah. And it looks like he's sending a very weak 5 Marine army. I don't know why.
Yeah. And now he's got a battlecruiser in your base, just being annoying. This is that moment. Yeah, exactly. Like this is the type of thing that needs to. You just gotta go. And the best thing.
I went and chased that battlecruiser like an idiot.
The best thing you could do, because you should have blink now as well by now. Because if you just start blink after charge, you would have easily had blink down as well already without even chrono boosting blink. Because you finished charge around like minute 7, or a minute like 7.5 to 8. So you had like 3 minutes or so to like get blink, and it's only a 2-minute upgrade, and that's not even including chrono.
I'll make sure to get blink. No.
But if like for instance, if you moved his base and you just disregarded your army, you are going to take losses. Like so, if you knew where he was because you scouted faster, and you went to move his base, things will die for both sides. And as units die, you replace. You could be like, oh, he's a fucking battlecruiser attacking me. Use new warp-ins to warp in and just blink on the battlecruiser and kill it.
Yeah.
Because it would only take about 5 stalkers to kill that BC. Especially since you have upgrades.
Moment for me when my army goes after one battle.
No, it's okay. It's you just get caught up in the moment for sure, and you get tunnel vision, and you're like, oh, kill it. And what's happening is you've already you've wasted a full minute of your power spike, and it's gonna keep going. So you're probably not gonna attack him until like 2.5, 3 minutes after your peak of what you were at.
And I feel like I was confident enough to know that this one battle cruiser is not going to
Yeah. Because like, look at only like 4 stalkers are shooting, and you're beating the crap out of it.
and then he goes away.
Yeah, because it was also a 0-0 BC, and you have 1-1 stalkers, which upgraded versus non-upgraded units are always going to do better. So you're pushing now, but now you're also pushing without vision. You're just kind of blindly going for it, which is also kind of a scary thing. Just because you might be giving the Terran opportunity to like just sneak shit on you. Like for all you know, this guy could have like 5 bases, or he could have 3 bases, or 7 bases. And the more exposed his bases are, always the easier it will be to kill them. But like right now, you're actually taking a fight, and your power spike is no longer a 69 supply advantage. It's now more like a 40 supply advantage.
Yeah.
So it's definitely you've definitely missed a bit of your power there. Like it's just a waste of opportunity essentially.
Yeah.
And like right there, that attack in your fourth base, I would say the best way to counter this would be number one, if you can, green box your probes, run them to a new base. This is also why expanding is so important early, because it gives you options to rotate probes if it ever comes down to that. Like it's just there's so many benefits to having the Nexus every 2 minutes. So like right now, again, if we're talking how your fifth base should have gone down by 10 minutes, your sixth base should be going down by 12 minutes. Like you could just rotate probes to it. Like you guaranteed would have a little bit of open middle lines there to work with initially. Like you're not going to have fully saturated 7 bases. You're going to have like probably 75% saturated of all of your bases or something like that. And it's going to obviously, you're going to increase the amount of total saturation you'll have percentage wise because patches will mine out.
Yeah.
But you always have probes to send places to. But like I said, it just gives you an option to be like, cool, let's send the probes to a new base that I just made. Avoid this death ball here of like Phoenix, or of Viking killing the probes. But then you could just go into a situation where you could make Zealots or Stalkers again, or whatever the hell you want to make, off of this pylon as your main army takes a fight with his base and you lose supply. Your Remax could initially defend yourself and then continue to Remax from there. Because this army would easily die to, if you warped into like 16 Zealots, you win. If you warp in like 16 Stalkers, you win. This army would not do shit against either one of those. It's like half the Vikings are like almost about to die as it is already anyways. And it's only 7 Vikings. And then it's got 4 Marines with... Like none of these units are really upgraded either. And there's no Stimpack, there's no Combat Shield. These units would easily die to some fresh weapons.
I think I pulled them. Oh, there they go.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, if you did or didn't pull them, I would be like, pulling them is obviously better. But as long as you here's another thing too, is you remake probes as they die. So
yeah.
Chrono Boost allocation should be on forges, as long as you're done making probes, because probes were the Chrono Boost allocation before, right? And now you're going full on. You got charge, which is cool, and now you're going 1 1 2 2 3 3 forges, which is super good. Chrono Boost allocation goes back to probes again, though. If whatever happens just happens, where he just killed 19 probes because a battlecruiser flew into your bottom base, and now Vikings and Marines just killed some probes at your top base. Just do one Chrono Boost cycle again really fast on like just literally Chrono Boost all 5 of your Nexus and make another like 15 probes, and you'll get 15 probes out in a matter of 25 seconds. And it's just like, boom, fixed within less than half a minute. Easy peasy.
Just real quick, I think the meta now is 2 forges for Terran weapons and armor, 2 forges for Zerg weapons and maybe shield, and just 1 forge for Protoss.
Yeah, that's good. I would say that's good.
Okay.
And weapons and shield against Zerg is nice because it just gives you the ability to like defend counters and shit like that. That's why I tell you to do that. Eventually, once you get better at StarCraft, it will become weapons. Like it'll probably go back down to single forge, and it'll just be weapons like against Protoss. Against Terran, Terran is always going to be double forge, but against Zerg and Protoss, you can kind of get away with single forge and not have to worry about a second forge. And then you go weapons first, and then like armor second. But you go 1 2 3 weapon, 1 2 3 armor, 1 2 3 shield against Protoss and Zerg. It's just shields is super good at early on when you're like learning the game, like platinum and below, and maybe even some diamond level stuff, because every Zerg is like, I'm gonna counter you, and you're like, oh shit, I'm being countered. I didn't even realize. Oh, I have shields though. So that's nice. But when you're higher level, you'll always know when you're being countered because you'll have way more map awareness. So it's not as impactful. So like you're losing supply and you're warping in units at your other base. I would totally have said you could have warped into units on the right side of this Nexus being attacked and then immediately killed those Vikings. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
So like the fact that you warped them to the base to the right of it, that's not the worst. I just hope for you don't give a shit about your main army that's pushing. You just shift A move it around his base, and who cares? Whatever happens, happens. But you focus on saving this Nexus and killing his 4 Vikings by just A moving these new Archons to those Vikings. Like that's what you should do. And fix your probes. So you kind of just go base trade style now, where I mean you're not really base trading because he's barely killing your base at all.
He's got
But you could have easily saved that base. And then once you save that
This
base
was
and
hubris. I was overconfident.
yeah, once you save that base and you remax, you could then be like, well, my army is still going and I'm remaxed. Well, how about I reinforce it and just send a new army out to go help it? Like reinforce my existing army over there by then sending everything once again to attack him.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I feel like you definitely have the general concept down pretty decent. There's a few things you can improve on, like we talked about, but honestly, not bad, dude. You're doing well. Keep it up with all this stuff.
Yeah, this was a good game of mine, but I still wrote down like at least 12 little tips that will increase my timings. So I'm very pleased with that.
The biggest one
So I'll add it
is
to my
scout.
list.
The biggest one's scouting before your max. That's so
Yeah.
important. Because
I
if
know you usually send out at least 3 Phoenixes. I don't think I sent out more than 1 or 2. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and because like that power spike is why this beat a gym style is important. Like if you've ever wondered, Vibe, why the fuck does someone, like, let's say one of your friends is doing this as well, and you're like, Vibe, why does one of my friends that does this, why is he diamond and why am I not? What's the difference? Like that would be what I would say is the biggest difference in your gameplay. If you start maximizing that power spike when you hit max supply, you're going to win so many more of your games because that power spike is so fucking important.
Okay. Well,
So yeah, make sure always like if you're not paying attention to like, or if you want a reminder rather, that's a better way to say it. Always know between the supply range of about 145 to like 155, basically right around 150. But if you do it like maybe 10 supply above or 10 supply below, it's okay. Just anywhere around 150, go fucking scout the map. And the reason why that is because if you are doing the build standard, like your timings of most of your things are pretty good, and you built all your gateways and your upgrades and stuff at a good time. But when you hit 150 supply, that is when all your other like 6 gates are going to come online, and your supply is no longer going to ramp up like 10 supply here or 6 supply here with probes and units. It's now going to start ramping up like rounds of like 20 to 24 supply, because you're making like every unit out of the gateway is hefty, and you're still making immortals. So, and you could be even potentially maybe even another thing you could do too, which I didn't say, is if you have excess chrono boost, which is also another reason why expanding on time is super important. We didn't even touch on that. Having extra chrono boost energy is super nice. You can also throw extra chronos at your robo, which is also why you do not want to take multiple robos, because you want to just chrono. If you have excess, you just chrono that robo until you max out. Then you make more robos. Like you make either 2 more or 1 more. That's fine. But yeah, your supply in general is just going to ramp up faster. So you definitely need to know where you're going, because it's no longer going to be a thing where it's like, well, it took me 3 minutes to go, or 4 minutes to go from 1 to 50 supply. Now it's going to take maybe 40 seconds to go from 150 to 200. So you got to go quick.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Okay.
any questions about anything we talked about whatever?
No, I was writing everything down, so I think I've got it. A lot of good tips. And I'm just gonna keep doing this until I watch your diamond video.
Yeah, no, this is
I'll
good.
get there.
Another tip I would give you, just like it's what you kind of asked for in the very beginning, which I'll touch on a little bit more for you now, is against your opponent in general. Okay, a general rule of thumb about the only way I will say I would like you to change your build is I want you, if you scout with your hallucinated phoenix, if you scout any of these units being made in large numbers, I want you to make this a response, okay? Just try it, because you'll like this. If you see from Protoss a lot of zealots, if you see from Zerg a lot of Zerglings or Hydralisk, specifically mostly Hydra, but if you see, like, it could be usually Hydra's pair with Zerglings, but if you see a lot of Hydra, this also counts. So Zealots and Hydras are the main ones so far. And for Terran, if you see a lot of Marines, if you see any of these things, I want you to then add on a Robo Bay. And when I want you to add on the Robo Bay is it's interchangeable, but so I don't mind if you do it on either points here, but either one of these needs to happen. Do it either right before or right after your third base. So you're going to be doing it roughly around 5 minutes, like 4 to 5 minutes, essentially. And it depends on, because it really depends on your scout and how well it went. Like, did you find out what was going on? Did he show you what was going on, or what? If you want to, if you feel the need to go, oh shit, this is a lot of zealots, or this is a lot of fucking zerglings, hydras. If this is a lot of marines, you can add on a robo bay. It'll probably most likely happen right after the third, like around the time when you take your upgrade buildings too, like your forges and your council, because that's I imagine for most of your opponents, that's probably when they'll show you they're doing that. If you add on Colossus at that point, you can just go into Colossus, and if you do go into Colossus, stop making them once you have 4 of them. 4 is your magic number.
Got it.
And then you can alter that with your build. So, and then once you have 4, if you still want to make robo units, go back to making immortals again.
Cool. I have one last quick question, then
Sure.
and then I'll free you from this.
Okay.
Is a good comp against heavy marine medevac Stalker Colossus, or is it not anymore?
Say that one more time. I was reading something in chat. And I kind of
PvT and I'm facing a bunch like huge marines and medevacs. Would Stalker Colossus be good for that?
yes. Colossus,
Okay.
like, so the reason why, and I would say Zealots are going to be really good there too, though. But the reason why Stalker Colossus would not be bad against Marine Medevac, like Bio Medevac, is because the Colossus are superior siege to everything in that army. They have more range than everything. And if you have Stalkers in front of the Colossus, because since Stalkers have less range than Colossus, they will always be in front of the Colossus. It allows you to mow down large chunks of bio, and then, you know, you'll be killing. It's like the reverse of like his siege tanks versus your army. You'll be killing a large chunk of his army before the fight even starts. The reason why 4 Colossus is the max of what you should go to is because realistically, on paper, you could say, oh well, if he makes Marines, Colossus are good against Marines. It's a hard counter. Why don't I just make more Colossus? But that's assuming that it's like a open sandbox where, like, if you think about like a map of StarCraft 2, imagine if there was no cliffs. Imagine if there was no pathing. It's just a literally flat open area. Then yes, like a full map-wide concave of Colossus would be great. But that's never really how it goes. You have choke points, you have ramps, you have bottleneck areas, you have weird concave spots where literally 4 Colossus max could fit together on most locations. Like, it's some you could probably fit 5 or 6 in, some you might only be able to fit 3. It's rare though, but most of the time, because of the range of Colossus, you can usually always make 4 fit. And if you make anything above 4, a lot of times you'll have 4 Colossus in a line going just killing shit, and Colossus 5, 6, 7, 8 and beyond, whatever, however many you make, a lot of them will usually be bumping around in circles behind the first 4, being like, we got to find a place to stand because there's nowhere to stand. So it's just going to waste your DPS, and it's going to make your army substantially weaker because you don't have enough real power in your your composition, because it's just, you're like waiting for the backline to fight until your front line dies. And then finally, so it's like you're fighting with like chunks of your army at a time. So 4 Colossus is great because, and also another reason why is because 4 Colossus is, generally speaking, if you want to make Colossus against certain types of units, 4 Colossus is enough to practically one-shot, except for like a Zealot, basically everything that can be killed by a Colossus. Like a Marine definitely is going to die. As Hydra will definitely die. A Zergling will definitely die. Zealot will practically die. It'll be very close to dying. But 4 Colossus is enough to like basically just grind out units. So there's no overlap of like tons of wasted DPS. Where it's like, yeah, if you have like 8 Colossus all shooting 1 Hydra, like 3 or 4 Colossus could have killed that.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So yeah. Hope that helps.
Well, thanks, ViBE. That was great.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for doing it, dude. And I know we just said this, but just in case something sparked in your mind about a question, do you have any final questions before we wrap up?
I don't want to take too much of your time. I mean, I always think of questions, but like I could go on about comps, but forget it for now.
Okay.
I don't mind just giving you more money, ViBE, and doing another.
Okay, thank you, dude. I appreciate it. All right, man. I'll have this posted to you by probably tomorrow, and you know, if there's anything that you forgot, obviously you can come back and watch it again. And yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for doing it.
My pleasure. Take care.
All right, take it easy, dude.
All right. See ya.
See ya. All right, guys. That has been another coaching lesson with our boy JC. Thank you for doing it, JC. Much love. And guys, anyone out there watching, thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys enjoyed it as well. I have lots more content like this out there. I always say this. Just go check out my YouTube channel. It has Bronze GM stuff, which is a massive guide. I have other coaching lessons, other replay analysis stuff, which is just lots of little more specific information geared at like a specific thing. But tons of stuff you can learn from if you're interested in StarCraft. So check it out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. See you guys. Bye.